Hi everybody, welcome to Coffee or Licorice Tea with Jane and Bobby. It's great to see you, Bobby. We've got a fantastic little chat going today because we're going to talk about meal replacements. Now this is really prominent, especially on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, every day you will see someone posturing, flexing their muscles, screaming and shouting at why you should or you shouldn't be taking or advocating meal replacements as part of your own health campaign or indeed that of your clients for wellness or weight loss. So Bobby, what have you got to say?
I think this is a very interesting conversation because people are quite polarized on both sides of this argument. And even me and you, Jane, I know that you're quite a strong advocate of meal replacement use. Myself, I don't use them. I don't distribute them. I don't recommend them. I have absolutely nothing to do with meal replacements, and quite honestly, I have in the past avoided them. So let's take a look at this from a couple of perspectives. The first perspective is you should get people to make decisions about their daily dietary habits that serve them for the rest of their life. Now, the problem with this sometimes is if I've been in the industry 20 years, I didn't start out committed to my training program to the level I am today. I didn't start out eating the way I eat. As a matter of fact, exercise was something I did like most people because it was a means to an end. It wasn't until it became such an enjoyable part of my life and the root of my identity that exercise became not something I did, but someone I was. So we're in a sense telling people, quite non-empathetically, if 20 minutes into your decision to initiate an exercise program, a dietary program, you're not willing to do the things that I have done after 20 years, I've got no patience for you. There's a couple of things to consider. First of all, I don't think it's possible for a fitness professional to be an expert in many areas. You take a look at fitness professionals, it's like we're expert neuroscientists now, we're expert biomechanists, we're expert physiologists, we're expert nutritionists. You could spend your entire life studying 6 hours a day, applying it another 8 hours a day, and never really know even a fraction of what there is to know. So what is it that we need to become an expert in if we can't be an expert of all of these domains that we obviously need to have some level of competency because we live there and our clients trust us to make recommendations based on those core competencies? I think the one thing, if you're going to be an expert on anything, Jane, is be an expert on your clients. What are their goals, needs, wants, and abilities? What are their limitations? And there are three things to consider when talking about a meal replacement. This comes out of a conversation I had with a colleague and friend of mine in a pub, ironically, who I happen to respect greatly. And that is, there is conflicting beliefs, self-efficacy, and risk aversion. So if you ask any trainer, what do we do? A lot of people say, well, we educate, or we teach people, we help people, but most people would agree. What we do is elicit changes in the way people behave to change the results that they get. You do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. And as cliche as that is, if we engage people in behavior change, and we are in the change business, not meaning we change people, but we give people the system sciences and tools, to borrow from PTA Global, so that they're able to bridge the gap between where they are and where they want to be, well, then we have to conclude from this, Jane, that there's a process that people go through, and there is. Dr. James Prochaska created the trans-theoretical model of change. This is a very predictable, sequential, and sometimes cyclical process of change that people go through when they're trying to do anything in life, whether it's related to career or health and fitness. And when people come to us, they don't come to us very often. We do have these clients, but they don't come to us because it's like, hey, I've got this all figured out. I just want to take it a bit further. We have those clients, but the vast majority of us work within the realm of people who cannot get themselves to make those changes. And the first few levels of change, you're dealing with people who are more motivated to avoid well, what if I do this? I put all this time and energy into it, and it still doesn't work out. What if I do this and I lose my friends because I can't hang out with them at the pub? What if I do this and I fail again and my spouse ridicules me and I have to be judged and humiliated, maybe even condemned by my friends and family? So you've got this aversion of risk that's more powerful than the desire for gain, coupled with someone with low self-efficacy. And when I say self-efficacy, I simply mean self-efficacy is the belief that you are capable of not only initiating, but sustaining a certain set of behaviors congruent with the desired outcome. So you've got that, and then you've got this conflicting belief that, yes, I know exercise is good for me, but I don't think I'm the type of person that can live that lifestyle. Or, it's good to take care of your body, but if I do that, I have to sacrifice my career. And if you're in coaching at all, like I am, you run into situations where people say, okay, here's my meal plan for the week. And then because they're new in the behavior and they don't have a reference point, they want to get to the cafeteria. And when they're on their way to canteen, their boss intersects them in the hall and says, you've got to come in for an important conference call. Then by the time they go to canteen, it's closed. So they make a really, really bad food choice, or they eat whatever food is brought in for the meeting. Then they go back to their office and they say, I have failed. I knew I wasn't cut out for this. And they adapt a global belief system, maybe an erroneous belief system, but a belief system nonetheless that they are just not cut out to do what they need to do. And the argument that this gentleman made is, because he also, like you, was an advocate of meal replacements, I'm not trying to get people on a meal replacement for the rest of their life. What I am trying to do is remove the guesswork. Say, right, there are a million things that can go wrong. These are people who can't even commit to increasing water intake throughout the day. These are people that have struggle with understanding proper food choices because they don't understand things like energy balance in the body. They don't understand how different foods affect hormonal balance in the body. So here, just take this, because at least I know you're going to cut your calories. At least I know if you've got this and you've taken it to the office, 1 meal, 2 meals a day, you cannot screw this up, or it's much, much harder. People can derail themselves and a lot of things can happen, but we're minimizing the chances of something going wrong. And after a couple of weeks, if you lose weight, and it's not even if you lose weight, even before you lose weight, on day 3, if you were able to set and stick to a goal, and then that drives you for the rest of the week, and you can look back on the past 7 days and say, I committed 5 days out of 7 to replacing 2 out of 3 meals, and I successfully did it. The thought starts to occur to you in your brain, it's possible. So am I saying a meal replacement, just me personally, I'm not slagging off meal replacements, is a long-term efficacious strategy? Probably not. I would want to see somebody make dietary changes. But if somebody, and by somebody I mean the majority of people, struggle with things that we take for granted, a meal replacement can be a very smart way of removing the guesswork, minimizing risk of failure, and therefore increasing someone's confidence and self-efficacy to the point where at the end of 2 weeks they can go to 1 meal replacement, not 2. At the end of 30 days, they might even be able to get off of meal replacements and start making dietary changes that they would have never been able to make had they not seen the evidence that it's possible. And now you have cognitive dissonance working in your favor. You have a reputation. You have a month-long track record of initiating, sustaining, and witnessing the results of behavior change to live up to. Another argument is, but what if a meal replacement has a bunch of crap in it? I get that. I can completely see where people are coming from. The way I look at behavior change is it's not what's happening on day 3 that's going to make a difference in your life. Although day 3 and day 4 is pretty important, it's day 333. So if somebody does not have a tool or a strategy when they have a high predisposition to failure that changes the way they eat, they're going to eat foods that are just as bad or worse than anything you can put in a meal replacement. I mean, how many times do you go to a meeting? I've seen this in the fitness industry. And somebody brings in Krispy Kreme.
Every day.
Perfect brain food. I mean, if my goal is to make everyone in the meeting unproductive, non-creative, and comatose within the next 20 minutes as a way of rising to the top of the organization by eliminating my competition, that's a great food choice. But other than that, what are you thinking, really? I think there is a place for meal replacements if you're not using it as the best nutritional alternative. You're using it as a behavior modification strategy. That's just the way I look at it. I see both sides of this, Jane.
Yeah.
I can see the camp that says, no, it's about changing your eating habits. Yes, it is, because that's sustainable.
Yeah.
You know, that's in correspondence with proper health. And I can see the meal replacement advocates saying, listen, what you're talking about is correct over here. But you are dealing with people where they're not crossing a chasm this wide. It's this wide.
Yeah.
And if you don't give them a little tiny bridge, one step at a time, they're not going to be able to take the consecutive steps that you want them to take. So if 6 months into it or 90 days into it, they're making the food choices that you in your wildest dreams will want all your clients to make, but they're doing it partly because you address the conflicting beliefs, risk aversion, low self-efficacy with a tool. Do you care how they got there in the first 30 days if you're able to now spin that into habits that'll last 330 days? Or, hopefully, decades.
Yeah, I'm with you. And, you know, my views on it, I will put in a different discussion. And, no, I think that's really interesting, a really interesting way of looking at it. So, guys, I hope that sparks your interest as well. There's a massive meal replacements are wrong approach at the moment, and without evidence. I think that's what bothers me with this argument. There is no evidence. It's the blanket. It is not right. Clean eating is right. Meal replacements are wrong. And I think you've just addressed really well the reasons, the massive reasons in between those two things, why they can potentially work. So thank you very, very much, Mr. C.
Thank you very, very much.
And I look forward to our next little chat.
Me as well.
Yeah, take care.
I love you.